One night, five old friends were sitting in a bar, planning the biggest adventure trip of their lives. During the conversation, someone suggested that this time they should visit somewhere truly special. After a lot of debate, they finally decided to go hiking through the breathtaking mountains of Sweden. But none of them had any idea that this journey would become the most terrifying experience of their lives. As they prepared for the trip, Luke and one of his friends stopped by a liquor store to buy alcohol. The moment they walked inside, something felt off. The people in the store looked terrified, and several armed robbers had taken control of the entire place. Realizing the danger, Luke quickly hid behind a shelf. But his friend froze where he was. The criminals stole his wallet and then demanded his wedding ring. He refused to hand it over. That single act of courage cost him everything. Enraged, the robbers attacked him without mercy. Within moments, Luke's friend collapsed to the floor. Hidden in his spot, Luke watched the entire nightmare unfold, but fear kept him from stepping out to help. That night changed his life forever. 6 years later, the surviving friends finally set off for Sweden. This wasn't a vacation anymore. It was a journey to honor the memory of the friend they had lost. On the outside, everyone seemed fine. But deep inside, Luke was still haunted by overwhelming guilt. The memories of that night followed him with every step. While hiking through the mountains and forests, Dom suddenly slips and badly injures his leg. The injury is so severe that continuing on the normal trail becomes almost impossible. Now the group faces a difficult decision. After checking the map, they discover a shortcut that cuts straight through a dense, isolated forest and could get them to their destination much faster. Luke immediately opposes the idea. Something about that forest doesn't feel right to him. He urges the others to stay put and wait for help instead. But with Dom in pain and the rest eager to save time, they choose the shortcut anyway. With no other option, Luke follows them into the woods. The deeper they go, the more unsettling the atmosphere becomes. An unnatural silence hangs in the air, as if the entire forest is watching them. Then they stumble across a horrifying sight. The mutilated body of a massive animal is hanging high from a tree. It looks as though something brutally slaughtered it before displaying it there. The gruesome scene sends chills down everyone's spine. As they look closer, they notice a strange symbol carved into the same tree. At first, they assume it must be the work of a hunter, but they have no idea that the mark doesn't belong to any human. It's a warning, left by a terrifying force hidden deep within the forest. And very soon, they're going to come face to face with it. As they continue deeper into the woods, they spot an old abandoned cabin ahead. Heavy rain is pouring down, so they decide to take shelter there for a while and hope they might find someone who can help. But when they reach the cabin, it's completely empty. With no other choice, they break down the door and step inside. Just then, Luke hears a strange noise coming from deep within the forest. At first, he brushes it off and ignores it. Inside the cabin, old furniture and dusty belongings are scattered everywhere. It looks like whoever once lived there abandoned the place years ago. Then the group notices the same mysterious symbol they had seen carved into the tree outside. Nearby stands a terrifying headless statue, making the atmosphere even more unsettling. Even though something feels seriously wrong, the heavy rain leaves them with no choice but to spend the night there. Later that night, Luke suddenly wakes up. He has a terrible feeling that something isn't right. He tries to wake his friends, but none of them respond. He opens the door and suddenly finds himself standing inside the shopping mall where his friend was murdered years earlier. A second later, he jolts awake from the nightmare. But the horror isn't over. He realizes he's somehow standing outside the cabin. Blood is running down his chest, and deep claw marks have been carved into his skin. Panicked, Luke rushes back inside. His friends are awake now, and they all look terrified. That's when they discover one of their companions is missing. While searching for him, Luke climbs upstairs and finds him completely naked, standing in front of the eerie statue and silently worshiping it. They quickly pull him away, and as soon as morning arrives, the group decides to leave the cabin behind. As they continue through the forest, they start noticing more of those strange symbols carved into the trees. Fear begins to spread through the group. According to the map, they're supposed to head southwest, but Dom keeps walking in a different direction, and everyone else follows him without realizing it. Along the way, they talk about the terrifying events from the night before, convincing themselves it was all just a bad dream and trying to move on. After a while, they come across another cabin that looks almost identical to the first one. This time, they don't even think about going inside. They simply keep walking. After trekking deep into the woods, Dom's injured leg starts hurting even more. Exhausted, he sits down and asks the others to take a short break. But one of his friends strongly disagrees. He has a gut feeling that staying in this forest any longer is only inviting danger. Meanwhile, Luke wandered off, trying to find a way through the forest. Then something in the distance caught his eye. It looked like a massive figure moving silently between the trees. The sight sent a chill down his spine, and he immediately ran back to his friends. Luke told them he had seen something deep in the woods, but no one believed him. To prove he was telling the truth, he showed them the strange claw marks across his chest. Dom only laughed and mocked him, saying he had probably scraped himself against a tree while walking through the forest. The argument quickly escalated, creating tension within the group. Frustrated, Luke grabbed his backpack and started walking ahead. The others reluctantly followed behind him. After a while, they noticed something partially buried in the ground. When they dug it out, they discovered it was an old camping tent. Lying nearby was a weathered backpack. Inside, they found a wallet, several faded photographs, and a credit card. The expiration date on the card read 1984. At that moment, they realized a family might have camped there decades earlier and never made it back out. The discovery only deepened their fear. Everyone began to believe that something truly mysterious was hiding in the forest. As evening fell and darkness closed in, they decided to set up camp and spend the night there. Later that night, Luke once again had a terrifying nightmare about his dead friend. He suddenly jolted awake. At the same time, he heard someone screaming outside. Luke rushed out of his tent and found one of his friends standing there in complete panic. When he looked closer, he saw that another friend's tent had been ripped to shreds, and its owner was nowhere to be found. Shocked, Luke demanded to know what had happened. Through tears, his friend said that a gigantic human-like creature had grabbed their friend and carried him deep into the woods. As they were trying to process what they had just heard, agonizing screams echoed from the darkness of the forest. In that moment, they realized the terrifying truth. Whatever was lurking out there was definitely not human. Hearing their friends' desperate cries, they all sprinted toward the sound. They chased the screams deep into the forest, but when they finally reached the area, there was no sign of him. Now they faced a new nightmare. While searching for their missing friend, they had gotten hopelessly lost themselves. After wandering through the forest all night, morning finally arrived. That's when they looked up at a nearby tree and froze in horror. Their missing friend was hanging lifeless from its branches. His body looked exactly like the mutilated animal carcass they had found earlier. The horrifying sight left everyone terrified. They carefully lowered his body from the tree and began searching through his belongings because he had been carrying the only map of the forest. Even after searching everywhere, they still can't find the map. One of the friends refuses to leave, saying he won't abandon his friend's body in such a terrible condition. But Dom tells him that if they stay any longer, they'll end up dead too. In the end, they cover the body with a pile of branches and continue moving forward. As they walk deeper into the forest, they realize something disturbing. All of their nightmares begin the moment they enter that mysterious cabin. A little later, they come across a small water source. Exhausted and desperately thirsty, they start drinking. Nearby, they notice a bucket and what look like human footprints. For the first time in a while, they feel a spark of hope. Maybe there's a village, or at least someone living somewhere nearby. After walking for hours, the group becomes completely drained and decides to take a short break. During that time, Luke climbs a tall hill to see if he can find a way out of the forest. When he reaches the top, he spots the edge of the woods not too far away. Relief washes over him, and he rushes back down, excited to share the good news with his friends. But the moment he reaches the bottom, his happiness vanishes. Right in front of him, a horrifying and mysterious creature is carrying one of his friends away. Luke freezes in terror. He tries to run, but in his panic, he crashes into a tree and falls unconscious. A while later, he wakes up and immediately tells Dom what happened. He says some terrifying creature snatched their friend and moved so unbelievably fast that he barely got a clear look at it. The fear on everyone's face is impossible to hide. Still, stopping isn't an option anymore. Gathering every bit of courage they have left, they keep pushing forward in search of a way out. Soon, they discover a strange path lined with burning torches on both sides. For a brief moment, they think it might lead them to civilization. But that hope is shattered almost instantly. Hanging from a tree along the path is the body of their second friend, and it's in the exact same horrifying condition as the first one. By now, Luke and Dom had realized that some unknown force had been stalking them the entire time. After discovering their friend's dead body, they keep moving down the same trail. The fear grows with every step, but stopping feels even more dangerous than moving forward. A little later, they spot another wooden cabin in the middle of the forest. But this time, they don't even get a chance to think. Out of nowhere, mysterious strangers attack them. When Luke finally regains consciousness, he finds himself tied up with ropes alongside Dom. He manages to peek through a small hole in the wall and sees several unfamiliar people outside. From the way they dress and live, it's obvious they belong to an ancient tribe. Terrified, Luke quickly tells Dom everything he saw. Together, they desperately start looking for a way to escape. Then Dom notices a broken piece of glass lying on a nearby table. He tells Luke to somehow reach it and try cutting through the ropes. But before they can make a move, an elderly woman enters the room with several members of the tribe. She carefully examines the strange mark on Luke's chest. Then she gives him some water and even reveals an identical symbol carved into her own body. After that, she walks over to Dom, but treats him very differently. Luke repeatedly begs her to help his friend, but she completely ignores him. Moments later, she signals to the others and orders them to take Dom upstairs. As Dom is dragged away, Luke remains tied up, helplessly listening to everything happening outside. During this time, a young girl from the tribe quietly sneaks over to Luke. In a whisper, she tells him that the villagers are preparing his friend for a sacred ritual. Sometime later, Dom is brought back. He looks exhausted, terrified, and barely able to stand. Deep down, he already knows something horrible is about to happen to him. He turns to Luke and says that if he somehow manages to escape alive, he must come back and destroy this place so no one else ever has to suffer the same fate. The next morning, the tribe ties Dom to a wooden pole outside. Meanwhile, Luke keeps struggling to free himself from the ropes. Then, without warning, the atmosphere across the entire village changes. Every member of the tribe bows their head in the same direction, showing deep respect, as if they are welcoming an unimaginably powerful being. Luke finally manages to free his hands from the ropes. At that exact moment, Dom catches sight of a familiar figure that looks just like his wife. For a split second, he truly believes she's standing right in front of him. But as he gets closer, he realizes it's nothing more than an illusion. The truth is far more terrifying. The mysterious force hiding behind everything happening in the forest is right there before him. Moments later, Dom meets the same horrifying fate as the rest of his friends and becomes another victim of the cursed woods. Now Luke is the only one left alive, and he knows that if he doesn't escape soon, he'll end up just like the others. After Dom's death, Luke is completely shattered. Just then, the same young woman from the tribe approaches him. He begs her to take his friend's body down, but she refuses without hesitation. According to the tribe's sacred rules, no one is allowed to touch the dead. Luke then asks her about the mysterious creature. She explains that the tribe believes it is the guardian of the forest and worships it as their god. They are convinced it has lived in these woods for centuries, which is why they devote themselves to it. She then points to the strange mark burned into Luke's chest and tells him that he has now been accepted as part of the tribe. That's the reason he wasn't killed like everyone else. The woman goes on to explain that every year the creature hunts the people who wander into the forest. But out of all its victims, it always chooses one person to spare. This time, the chosen survivor is Luke. The tribe believes that anyone who worships this ancient power is rewarded with their deepest desires. In return, they must offer human sacrifices from time to time. Confused, Luke asks why he was chosen. The woman reveals that the creature is drawn to people who are broken inside, those carrying unbearable pain or deep regret. Hearing this, Luke immediately thinks back to his friend's death, a memory that has haunted him for years. Before leaving, the woman warns him that a ritual will take place that night. If he refuses to bow before the ancient force, he will suffer the same fate as his friends. The warning sends chills down Luke's spine. As soon as she leaves, he somehow manages to make his way upstairs. But what he finds there is even more horrifying than he imagined. The room is filled with ancient human beings. Their bodies are withered and almost completely dried out. Yet somehow, impossibly, they are still alive. Luke realizes that these are the very people the ancient force chose for itself many years ago. The moment he sees them, he makes up his mind to end this horrifying cycle once and for all. Without hesitation, he sets the entire room on fire and rushes outside. As soon as he steps out, the tribe's elderly woman spots him, but Luke shoves her aside and keeps running. While escaping, he enters another room where he finds a shotgun. For the first time since this nightmare began, he finally has something to defend himself with. Avoiding anyone who tries to stop him, he fights his way toward the exit. During his escape, he catches sight of the young girl from the tribe. But it's already too late. She has paid for breaking the tribe's sacred rules with her own life. Watching this, Luke realizes that mercy simply doesn't exist in this place. A few moments later, he comes face to face with the mysterious creature again. Terrified but determined, he fires the gun. To his horror, the bullets have absolutely no effect. That's when Luke understands he isn't fighting an ordinary enemy. With no other choice, he turns and runs for his life. Within seconds, the towering beast catches up and grabs him. Luke struggles desperately, but the creature lifts him high into the air and hurls him violently across the ground. Now he is completely at its mercy. The monster slowly approaches him and places one of its hands over his body, almost as if it's performing some ancient ritual. It seems determined to claim Luke just like all of its previous victims and bind him to its power forever. But Luke refuses to give up. At that very moment, he notices an axe lying nearby. Seizing his only chance, he grabs it and swings with every ounce of strength he has, striking the creature's strange tongue-like appendage. The attack creates just enough of an opening for him to escape. Without looking back, Luke sprints deeper through the forest. After running for what feels like forever, he finally spots a faint light in the distance. He realizes the edge of the woods is close. Using every bit of strength he has left, Luke pushes forward and finally crosses the forest's boundary. The instant he steps out, the creature stops chasing him. That's when he realizes the terrifying entity is bound to the forest and cannot leave its borders. Enraged and frustrated, the monster unleashes horrifying screams from within the trees, but Luke is finally beyond its reach. After enduring days of unimaginable terror, he experiences something he hasn't felt in a long time: real safety. And with that, this chilling and mysterious story comes to an end. Subscribe for more videos like this.